Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. On the last tutorial we talked about deleting a post. Here we're going to talk about two things. One is to fetch a post, is to fetch post that belongs to a particular user, and also secondly is to fetch all posts regardless of the user who created the post. And lastly, we are going to also talk about to fetch a single post for a user. That is a post that belongs to a single to a user, to a particular user. And again, that's just it. So we are going to start by going back to our service. So service here, post service, and we're going to create a method here. Remember, for you to fetch a post that belongs to a user, the user have to be, you have to pass the user ID. So get user posts, that's what we're going to call it. I'll just call it user posts. And we get this ID, which is supposed to be an int, or we can actually, okay, let's say this require a user model. So simply we're going to return post that belongs to user, and we're going to paginize it. It's a 12, and we're going to sort it by the latest. So lastly, I think we go to user model and define the relationship. I think this is not found on the user model. So let's go to the user model, and okay, it's there. Okay, sorry, I forgot we created that last time. So this is all we need to do here. So let's go to the controller. Where's our controller? HTTP controllers and API posts. So here we're going to create a method here, get user posts, and it's going to accept the user model, and yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to wrap everything so I try and catch. So this is the post, service post, user post, then passing the user. Then if there is post count, sorry, is greater than 0, is less than or equals to 0, or let's say it's less than 1, then means there is no post for that user. I'm going to return post not found. And let me message is going to be no post was found for this user. And if there is post, we return the post response as response with the post. It should be status success, and message was fetched successfully, and we have our data here, which is paginated post. So here, if there is any error, we're going to return this exceptional error, an error code fetching post. This why fetching post. Please try again later. That's just it. Let's go to our route and create the route for fetching posts for a user. Now this route is going to be a public. It's going to be a public route because anybody can fetch and read the post of a user. So post, then you pass in the user, then the method we are going to be calling is the get user post. Okay, if the user is not found, which means we're going to say user not found. So this is it. So let's go to our postman and try this out. One thing, there is body for this, deleting of post. So let's quickly duplicate this one. Get user post. This should be get request. So in order not to complicate the whole thing, let's add user here. So before the user ID, we're going to add user here. So this should be able to fetch a user post. So let's try this out and see how it works. No post was found for this user. Okay. Let's create a post. Post created successfully, and the user ID is 5. So let's try to get a post for that user, which is 5. And here it is with the pagination. So we'll be able to get the posts for a particular user. So if you try to fetch a post that does not belongs, to fetch a post of a user who doesn't have a post, you will see that the post was not found for this user. So the only user that have a post is user ID 5. That's why we'll be able to get posts for the user. So next, let's try to fetch a post or post regardless of the user. So this is going to be post. Let's say get post, and we're gonna return post latest, and we're going to pagenet it to 12. So this is going to fetch the post regardless of the user that created it, so you don't need to pass the user ID while first trying this. So I'm going to create another method to now fetch the post. It should be fetch post, still put it inside the try catch block. So let's see, since they're using the same error message, no need for that. I'll type in a fresh one. So this fetch the post, which is this post dot get post. If a post is found, count is less than 1, means there is no post. I'm going to return. I think we also have this here, so let's copy this and paste it here. If everything works fine, means we're going to return this. So I think that's it. So let's go to the post route and create another endpoint for fetching posts. There should be a get request, and the endpoint should be post. The method should be fetch post. So let's give this a try. Now postman, let's duplicate this, get all posts. So the route is this. Let's save this. Let's save this also. So let's try and fetch posts. Okay, as you can see, it's fetching every post. So let's try to create another post. Second post. Okay, let me try to create with the second user that I created and see if it's going to work. Our second user post. Okay, so let's try to fetch all the posts created so far. Okay, as you can see, we have the first post, which is user ID 6 and the one 5. So now let's try to fetch a user post 5 and see how many it's going to fetch. As You can see it only fetch the post that belongs to that user. So lastly, let's create another endpoint that fetch a single post. So I don't think we need a service for this. So create another method, maybe call it show. And it's going to accept the post that needs to be returned. And since you're already checking if the post we do the validations on the route, so we are using route model binding, so we don't need to do any more thing here. So let's return the response status. So if everything is okay, it's going to return the success message with the post that needs to be fetched. So that's just it. So the next is to create the route. We're going to call it get, and we're going to pass the post here. And we're going to call the show method. Let's try this in our endpoints on our postman. So let's duplicate this request. We're going to name it fetch can get single post. So get single post, pass the post ID. So you're supposed to use this in case if the post was not found. Post not found. Okay, post not found. So let's try to see if we get post 2. Okay, and here it is. So let's update this. Post successfully. And that's just it. Lastly, we need to add the details of the user that created the post while we try to fetch the post. So we will do that inside this service. So here that you're trying to fetch, okay, let's add with method. This will allow us to add any relationship that you want to fetch alongside with the post. So we are using the eager loading. So if you want to, right now, if you try to fetch this post, it's going to fetch the post with the user related to the post. So that's the user that created the post. So let's try this out and see what happens. We're having an error code. Maybe we don't have the relationship created in our post model. I think that's just it. So let's create that relationship. Call this user, and we're going to remove this too, and we're going to return this belongs to a user, and I think we are good to go. So let's try this again, and that's just it. So it's add the user object inside the post. So each post have the user object inside it. So if we actually don't need everything that belongs to user, or all the fields of a user inside the post, we can actually select the fields. Maybe for this area, let me say I want just the name and the user ID or the person that created it. So I don't need the email. I don't need to expose the user email and all that. So let's quickly do that on our post service. So here you can just add a column, then type in the names, that's the names of the fields that you want. So for our own case, we are trying to get only the ID and the name of the user. So let's try this out and see if it works. And it works perfectly fine. So right now the user email is not there. We can only get the ID and the name of the user that created the post. And that's just it for this tutorial. Please, if you find this tutorial very informative and you learned a new things today, so don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share to your friends, and subscribe if you have not subscribed. Thank you. See you in the next video.